Welcome to the BC Search and Rescue Association's AdventureSmart Expert Webinar Series. Tonight, it's Sherry Liu from BC Parks and Jamie Cox from the BC Lodging and Campground Association.
We have so much to share tonight, and that's from Sherry and Jamie. They're going to fill your ear with everything to do about camping. No matter what type of camping you like to do, where you like to do it, what that means to you in the province of British Columbia. We have a few little things to share at the beginning, but then the stage is theirs, and they will definitely give you some great insights all about the Campers Code. But beforehand, I'd just like to remind you that we have 78 search and rescue groups in the province of BC. There are 3,400 search and rescue volunteer members on those 78 groups. And every year, based on 2023 data, there's 1,750 search and rescue calls just in BC. Every year, they donate more than 441,000 hours to search and rescue response, training, and outdoor education. Least to say, we're a very busy province. I know I love to spend a lot of time outdoors, mountain biking, skiing, hiking. I'm outside quite a bit, and I know all of you are too. That's why you're here. And the province offers us so many great opportunities. So it's really fun to bring guests to our stage to help you get a little bit more informed or introduce you to these resources that are readily available. And it really helps you and sets you up for success. Our first guest is Sherry Liu, and she's worked in the field of outreach and education for over a decade, and currently is the education and outreach lead at BC Parks. In her role, Sherry supports visitor education initiatives, including social media. I see her a lot there. She does a great job. And signage with a strong focus on responsible recreation and safety, which is really our middle name. Sherry has been a part of the Campers Code since its inception in 2021 and has a passion for helping people. She really does. She's just a bubble of energy when you meet her and spend time with her. She loves helping people be prepared for outdoor adventures. And I know that's a fact. I've had the pleasure of working with Sherry for the last number of years. It's been great. Oh, I see some thumbs up and hearts. That's great. You either know her or want to know her, or you're about to learn more about her. Our second guest, Jamie. Jamie was raised in Kimberley, BC, and Jamie started his career working at the Kimberley Resort at 14 years old. It's funny you say that age. I was just talking to my daughter the other day, and I was saying I started working at 13, which seems really young now that I think about it. So when I read you're 14, I thought, okay, I wasn't the only one. I had the pleasure of first meeting Jamie when I worked as a park ranger in Mount Seymour Provincial Park, and Jamie was working at Mount Seymour Resorts. So our history goes back a few years because I was a ranger a long time ago. Back to
Yeah.
Jamie. The next 30 years, he grew into his career in the outdoor tourism industry, leading to senior management positions in several ski resorts throughout the province of BC and Alberta. Collectively, Jamie and Sherry make an awesome team and are part of the alliance of the Campers Code. I would love to hand the stage over to them now, and hope you guys have fun, and I can't wait to watch your presentation as well. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sandra. Great to be here today. And I want to kick it off by just acknowledging that today I'm really grateful to be calling in from the traditional territory of the Newhawk Nation as a visitor. I don't normally live in beautiful Bella Coola, but I am here for work for this week, and it's just wonderful to be able to join you from here.
And before we begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that I'm calling in from the traditional territory of the Silent Nation in South Okanagan. We just wanted to start off where the Campus Code actually came from. It was a collaboration, actually. During the COVID years, there was a lot of collaboration between BC Parks, Parks Canada, and Parks and Rec. And during that, there was a lot of discussion about camping. I actually, as Sandra pointed out, I started in the ski industry, and I spent 30 years working with 6 different ski resorts. And starting at the age of 14, everybody probably remembers the Skiers Responsibility Code, and the Skiers Responsibility Code really took a different perspective, and it developed a culture within the ski industry of things that are really apparent that a lot of skiers and snowboarders didn't necessarily bring their attention to, and talked about just skiing over very steep pitches and not checking before you went over that pitch, or going through slow signs or slow periods. And when I brought it to the attention of this group with BC Parks and Parks Canada and Parks and Rec about the Skiers Responsibility Code, I had just started in the RV industry in South Okanagan, and I noticed straight off the bat that there was inherent behavioral issues with campers that I thought that if we brought it all together and made a very simple disclosure of those behavioral problems and brought it to the market any way we could develop a campers code and just get it to the point where the camping industry and those that recreate in it found a level of respect, and we could develop different ways that just so the experiences were held and upheld, and so everybody could enjoy the different resorts that they were going to.
Perfect. Thanks. So we got the 9 simple rules that we're gonna go through, tell you a little bit more about each, maybe some interesting anecdotes along the way. So first of our 9 simple code items is respecting wildlife. WildSafe BC is one of our partners, and they are a huge believer in respecting wildlife, keeping them wild. Some common tips include not feeding or approaching wildlife, using binoculars to view them from afar, and just allowing them to live in their homes when we are a guest visiting.
The second was plan ahead, and a great opportunity for us to be discussing it with BC AdventureSmart, but plan ahead and be prepared. Safety is always first, even if you're camping in a car. Do you have anything that can happen in these wild spaces, and staying safe and adhering to the 3 T's, trip, plan, and train, and take the essentials, is critical. I mean, also in the ski industry and in the camping industry is telling people where you're going and how long you're going to be there and when you might return. Being able to look into the weather and what area you're going into and what kind of weather conditions are going to be there, and bringing the essentials, knowing that if the weather does change, that you have an opportunity to protect yourself. And but planning and being prepared, going wherever you're going, having everything that you possibly could need is critical, and it's something that we don't necessarily think about all the time.
Perfect. And we always want to remind people to only take photos. If it's not yours, you can't take it. We want to save nature in all its glory for everyone to enjoy. So if you find any natural objects, cultural objects, it's important to leave it where you found them. And I can't recall if we just mentioned at the start, but these 9 code items that we came up with were the 9 common pinch points that we all saw across the entire camping sector. So these are meant to be effective and meaningful to anyone, regardless of how they choose to camp. And these are what we've landed on. So we encourage people to take photos of cool stuff they see. They can share that with people and then leave the actual thing there for everyone else to enjoy in the future.
And Sherry, that's exactly it. Every one of these 9 code items are being similar to the Skiers Responsibility Code. They're when we're camping, we're not necessarily thinking about all around us and how we're impacting others that are trying to have that same sort of special experience. So though they're very simple and they're common sense, the same thing as the Skiers Responsibility Code, if we have this code and know that we're practicing each one of the components, we know that our experiences can be enjoyed, but also those around us controlling pets was one that I noticed at Gallagher Lake Resort that I operate in the South Okanagan. Everybody loves pets. I'm a lover of pets. I volunteer with the SPCA every weekend. And our pets are custom and used to us. But when we're in a camping facility, even if there's large spaces between some of our sites, just our pets, are they under control? Or not everybody is a pet lover. So are you thinking about the campers around your area? Are you, when you're taking walks through the forest and picking up after? So it's just respecting others around you and the environment that you're in, and your pets and how they're interacting. Controlling pets, there's a lot of pets that are reactive to animals. So having them off leash and rushing through the forest, there could come upon an animal, and it makes more common sense that pets are under control, unless they're so well trained. That's another topic in itself, but so well trained that they are command, and they're returning on a simple call. So being aware of your pet and how your pet's impacting others around you and the environment that you're in is critical.
Perfect. Jamie, I love that you talked about respecting others, because that ties so well into our next code bullet, which is respecting others. I don't know if most people have had this experience of being in a campground, it's late, you're just roasting a s'more over a fire. That is a great size. And there's a generator kicking off, like 8 sites down. I see a thumbs up, common pinpoint. So it's important to know if your site has quiet hours, to respect that, just generally being aware of who's around you. Some people go there to have fun with friends, but other people are kind of out in nature just to enjoy the peace and solitude. So we just really want to hammer this home and ideally create this culture where people respect each other. And then everyone has a good time when they go camping.
Sherry, you bring that up, and it really reminds me of a time. I have 3 children who are incredibly active and spend a lot of time in the great outdoors, skiing, snowboarding, camping, mountain biking. And we had ventured off to a lake north of Pemberton. And it's very interesting because father's really an adventurous kind of person. And I decided that we were going to build a raft. And we built this raft and went across a little inlet to an island, brought our tent with us and brought our cooler and everything else. It was amazing, the space that we were in on this little tiny island. As the night fell, across the way, they had to have been a good quarter of a kilometer, half kilometer away on the other side of the riverbank, was someone they were camping as well, a large fire. But the music was amazing. It was bellowing across the water. And I was just so perturbed because we had found such a cool place to be. And that music was just so loud. Wow, I just couldn't believe it. And they didn't necessarily think that they were impacting anybody else. And that's when I was operating Gallagher Lake Resort, a lot of people would be wanting to listen to their music, but knowing that if everybody listened to their specific music down a line of campsites, it's not a very pleasant experience and not a very pleasant environment to be in. So again, respecting one another. Our next slide is obviously very near and dear to everybody's heart as we're going into this season of 2024 and camping, is practicing fire safety. And I can't say that enough. At Gallagher Lake Resort, we didn't burn wood and we only burned propane. I know the fire is a big part of the camping experience, but unintended fires or even the slightest amount of sparks that come from a fire can turn a situation which was supposed to be a pleasant experience into just an unpleasant experience. So any way that we can respect fire, and I know this weekend as we go into Memorial Day weekend, the Whistler region is a fire ban. So check out fire bans if they're in your area and what you do about them. As we all have learned when we're children, growing up and camping is making sure our fires are out. No matter what, it's just dousing it gallon and gallon after water, or gallon after gallon of water to just 100% ensure that it's out. So fire safety is predominant the seasons that we're coming from or coming into now, and it's unfortunate that we're living with fire. So anything that we can do in any way we can practice that safety, it's critical. It's going to be so critical.
Totally. And on the Campers Code website, we do direct people to the BC Wildfire Services page because they're the ones who post about any kind of fire bans throughout the province. And part of the Campers Code is that it's nice, it's an alliance, it's not owned by any single one entity or organizations. And what we really aim to do is point people to the best resource in each of these areas of focus. So for example, the Wildfire Service for practicing fire safety, wildlife, oh my goodness, WildSafe BC for wildlife safety. Wow. And we just really direct people, AdventureSmart, obviously, for plan ahead and be prepared. We want to direct people to the experts in each of these fields. Which leads us into storing food safely, another WildSafe BC hot topic, which is managing our attractants really carefully when we're camping. Anything with a scent is considered an attractant by WildSafe BC and needs to be stored super safely. In this photo, you can see that they're somewhere in the backcountry. They have a fancy bear canister. Bears can't open these, and that keeps the food safe from them. In front country campgrounds, there's often food lockers for walking campsites, or if you're camping in a car or hard-sided trailer, you can just close that, put everything smelly inside. Food, toiletries, garbage, dog food, anything that has a scent can attract a bear, should be kept inside your hard-sided vehicle. And a hot tip that I learned is that you should also lock your hard-sided vehicle and trailers, because there are definitely reports of bears being smart enough to learn how to open car handles. So even if it's just inside and the door is not locked, there's a chance that they might get in. So hot tip we always tell people now is put them away, lock your car.
Absolutely brilliant. Another one of the code items, which running resorts for 44 years is so important, is respecting the staff and signs. I had a peer in the ski industry that always said that he'd like to put up a giant question mark to the entrance of every ski resort. And that basically that question mark was to read the signs, because the signs are put up in a lot of reasons or a lot of bases because of safety. Staff are aware of the area that we're in. Anytime that there's a situation, whether it be an emergency or otherwise, is respecting the staff's input to your experience. Quiet times, 11 o'clock at night. That's why the sign is there. It's 11 o'clock at night. Everybody has the ability to enjoy their camping experience with their family, but it comes a time where it's quiet time. So signs are all throughout the resorts, any resort that you're doing, even accessing backcountry, and take the time to stop and read the sign thoroughly and understand if there may be something in there that you don't know is ahead of you during your experience. So respecting staff and signs is another critical component that we identified.
Perfect. That brings us to our last code item, which is don't litter. Feel like it's almost a little bit silly in this day and age to remind people not to litter, but we still see this a lot in any outdoor scenario. This is a huge issue. So just a reminder that littering is never cool or acceptable in any circumstance. If there is a garbage can, obviously toss it in the garbage. And we are encouraging people that if there are no garbage cans, you can pack that out with you and then take it home and throw it away at home, or actually at the next garbage can you see. And that also applies if a garbage can is full. Sometimes after a busy event, busy weekend, you come across a garbage bin that is overflowing with garbage on the ground. Our friends that Don't Love It to Death talk about this topic a whole lot, because it is true. We love these outdoor spaces. We want to continue using them for a long time, ideally for future generations to enjoy as well. And that just means taking care of it while we can. And you may notice all the other ones are super positive, like, practice fire safety, control your pets. And this is the one where we landed on don't litter. This is a negotiable. We aren't even going to say, please don't litter. just don't litter. You know, don't do it.
There's many different facets of the campus code, and it's only began its infancy back in 2020. But we've had a little over 2,500 people take pledge to that they've acknowledged the campus code, the 9 items on the campus code, and it's now being pushed out in the same sort of fashion as we've seen the skiers responsibility code. Obviously, anybody that's camping in front country, we have posted in a lot of the private resort operations. BC Parks is posting it. The code again, it's if it's consistently presented to those that are going out and recreating in the outdoors, camping, it's just going to resonate. And I really felt that skiers responsibility code and the alpine responsibility code, which followed into a downhill mountain bike responsibility code, and now campers responsibility code. If it's something that we hold near and dear to our hearts when we're outdoor recreating, and acknowledging the next steps that we would like to see with the campers responsibility code is to see more pledges. Obviously, pledges are the way that we identify that we've got a point where that we've had this much engagement. We'd like to see it presented where you buy different camping gear or outdoor recreational gear at our local sports dealers. We'd also like to, in the skiers responsibility code, there was a grade 5 program that was developed where it introduced young skiers into skiing and access skiing very economically. So we'd like to work with the British Columbia Campgrounds and Lodging Association and have a program where we can bring young children, have an monetary incentive for them to come to the resorts, but to participate in a program that can develop them into campers that are respecting one another, respecting each one of the 9 items. And I really think it's going to make a difference. If everybody looks at the campus code, lives by the campus code, thinks twice about it when they're going past 11 o'clock, leaving the music on, it's not just for your enjoyment, it's disrupting the experience for others around you. So each one of the 9 codes is going to be present as many touch points as we possibly can until it's something that is practiced and just comes natural. It's amazing how they're simply common sense, but it's also amazing how they're not necessarily.
Perfect. Our next slide here just shows the partners that were with us as we developed the code. So there's 14 across BC. We all work together to come up with these 9 code items, but by no means is this a closed door. If you think there's someone else who's not at the table who think would be a great partner to us at Campers Code, if you go to camperscode.com, they can always contact us, let us know, like maybe you know someone who's a private campground operator who didn't know about this for some reason, and they're like, yes, we would love to implement this, call us. And if you have not taken the Campers Code pledge, you can go to camperscode.com today, click the 9 boxes, promise you'll do all the things that you just learned about with us. And if you have a Canadian address, I believe you can even check a box that says, I would like to receive a sticker, and we'll mail out a cute little sticker for you as a conversation starter so you can help us spread the word and get everyone on board to camp responsibly this season and forevermore. So a little thank you from us. Yeah. Jamie, any last words? We good?
I'm good. I'm really good.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Thanks for
Marvelous.
coming.
Well, thank you very much. We've got a number of questions, and I know as I was going along, if people haven't looked in the chat, I've put a whole bunch of little tips that I have. One of the things that I've been very fortunate in my life to be able to do is to go camping almost every weekend. And when you're the type of person who can go camping almost every weekend, you run across a lot of issues when you're out camping. This, for instance, picture I took, that's my tent right there. It was actually taken in a BC park, but this was in a BC park that at the time was gated. And so they weren't taking funds, but the BC Parks website showed that you were allowed to go and camp in the gated area. Can you give any tips, Sherry, on how the campers code applies to areas that, like I said, they might be closed up for the long weekend, or sorry, closed up for the season, really, and and what you might want to consider doing differently for those types of scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, I think you did a great thing. You always check the website to see. Sometimes they are closed, like you shouldn't be camping, but sometimes the gate is just closed because the road's not maintained. And in off season, that just means like no one's there to do any kind of maintenance or upkeep. And it's especially more important to be careful, because if something, not ideal happened, no one would notice for a lot longer. So just checking if you should be camping in those places,
Yep.
and then being extra cautious outside of the busier times.
Yeah, and one of the things I know from my perspective, like you said, they're not maintained, right? So that means that there's maybe not be toilet paper. You're gonna have to
Mhm.
bring your own toilet paper, right? The garbage isn't collected, so it's not your responsibility to fill up the garbage cans so that they open up next year with over full garbage cans, right? Pack it back out. There's some other questions. We've got a great question here from Christina. Uh, Not everyone plays by the rules, especially when it comes to fire safety. I know even myself, I've actually had to go and put out fires. And I was mentioning in the comments, the way you know a fire is out, and I'm serious about this, you should be able to take your hands, rake through the coals completely, and it should be cold. If you feel you can't do that, then you haven't drowned it enough, and you need to go and drown it some more, stir it some more, till you can actually do that. And only when the fire is cold, all the way down into the ground, into the coals, that's when it's out. Last year, when Christina was in Nova Scotia, they had massive fires, and the provincial government was trying to educate people. But when it didn't work, one of the things they did is increase the fines up to 25K. In the parks here, it's only $345. Question why? Why is it so low in the parks to have it so low when the fire safety is up? And is there any plans to increase it, or what are you planning? What does the BC Parks trying to do to get the message even further into people's heads about fire safety?
That's a really good question. And I know BC Wildfire Service, they have a fine as well for having a campfire during a fire ban season, and it's somewhere over the $1,000 mark. I can't recall the figure just off the top of my head. But they also say that like if you're found to be responsible for starting a human caused wildfire, you are responsible for all of the firefighting charges resulting from that instance. I am the education and outreach lead, so I can't speak too much about fines and the enforcement side of things. But it is really interesting to hear about Nova Scotia's stance, and someone somewhere will be much more knowledgeable about this topic, but it's not me.
Rob in our chat says that it's $1,145
Okay.
under the wildfire. So thank you very much, Rob. It's good
Hey,
to
Rob,
good to know that.
nice to have you here. Rob's an ex, oh no, he's still a park ranger, but we worked together years ago. Hi, Rob. I'm going to selfishly say hello and thanks for chiming in. We appreciate that. That's great.
Jamie.
That's $1,145 for every single person that's there. It's not just 1145 for the event. It's anybody that's standing there. And I was actually BC Wildfire Service. We did a conversation with them, with the Campers or the Campers Providers Alliance, which is an alliance between BC Parks, Parks Canada, Parks and Rec, and the British Columbia Campgrounds and Lodging Association. That there is a number that can be called now, and I don't have it with me, that if you see somebody infringing on in a ban situation, rather than you taking care of it yourself, you can actually call this number, and it's another enforcement opportunity, because this subject is amazing. It needs to be, it needs to be, minds need to be wrapped around. And it just, gross negligence is completely out.
We have had a BC Wildfire Service on our expert webinar series in the past, and they've talked about the statistics about when you see human caused, for instance, by the way, that doesn't always mean it's a campfire that's left behind. Occasionally that means it's a tree that fell on a power line. Power lines are caused by humans, and so that's classified as human caused. But we went into more detail about what are the different ways that you can do it. Even having your vehicle on tall grass, tall dry grass, can cause a fire, right? An ATV and stuff like that. So if you're camping with an ATV, it's another consideration that you have to do when you're respecting fires. It's not only the fires you light, it's the fires you don't intend to light. You have to be careful.
In the RV industry, one very ironic fire starting experience that started to be in a significant amount of numbers was pulling trailers. They always have a safety chain. And that safety chain, if it's not tied up correctly, it's dragging down the side of the road. The vehicle pulls off to the side of the road for another completely related reason, and that chain is red hot, and a fire is started on the side of the road because of just not doing the conscious.
And also generators too, improperly. If you're not taking care of your generator, that's another thing. Sandra.
These are all great suggestions. And I saved this actually when I was on social this morning. I saved it on Instagram, and I wouldn't even think about it, but I know Rob probably would. And it's just another chance to say hi to Rob. Not really. But anyway, this is all about firearms and enthusiasts that are using firearms in the outdoors. And I'm going to share this actually over the next little bit because it's in relation to fire hazards. It's really interesting. It's here's how to make a difference. Choose your shooting locations wisely. Opt for areas with reduced vegetation. Avoid shooting during heat peak hours, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Aim for early mornings or post-rain sessions. These are all just, unique to this activity. And be mindful of the ammunition and the targets that you use to minimize risks. And they even talked about the shells that come out of the firearms that land on the ground that are extremely hot. This post actually gets into the temperature of them. And I'm not a hunter. I know Rob is, and another good friend of ours as well, Dylan Ayers from Eat Wild. There's a whole other user group that spends time in the outdoors that uses gear that can affect that situation. So, news to me because I don't do that, but really, really helpful. And same with a lot of the suggestions you guys just mentioned. So I just wanted to share that with you and watch our socials for that. I'm going to share that over the weeks ahead.
No, that's great.
Well, I was just going to say, a lot of the campus code, each one of the 9 items, I think the word respect is in there probably 6 times, and that's really what it's all about. Just respect. It's not respect. It's respect for each other. It's respect for the environment, respect for the forest, and it's astounding at 2024 that we have.
Yeah. I'm just putting in our BC Wildfire Service YouTube video, and you guys can check that out there.
And Rob added some great insights there. Rob, you're really chiming in. Super. He's telling us never to use full metal jacket or steel core bullets outside. They cause sparks that have initiated wildfires. So really great little extra PSAs here. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. I had another question just going on back to the campers code. When I go on and I sign up and I pledge to do my campers code, what are you doing with my information?
We don't.
Go ahead.
Oh, we keep it just in case we want to start a newsletter. Have we sent out newsletters? Joss isn't here, but he is very knowledgeable about this. But the idea is that if we had ongoing information, if there's changes to the campers code in the future, anything fun additional, we would have a way to reach out to people.
It's free, right? It's free to sign up.
It's free.
And you're not going to take that information and go and sell it to people or use it to do advertisements.
We barely contact you after, so no one else will contact you on our behalf either. Yeah.
Fair enough. No, it's
But
just
like
good to know because people can worried about those
True.
kinds of things.
Very
like I
true.
said, we would like to delve into having it at the grade 5 or something similar in the grade 5 skiing opportunities, the grade 5 program. So those different things that are coming down are going to be available for those that have signed up for the pledge. As well, I saw Sandra shared the 9. There's 9 fantastic, very funny in a lot of cases, but very serious video clips. And I would highly recommend just taking the time and watching one by one, because it really puts it just to the simplicity that the campers code, and it's apparent because I was an operator. And that's why I suggested that this was something that should be thought about by the Campers Providers Alliance, about the campgrounds. And we've introduced this to the Canadian Camping and RV Council, which is a national program. And so it's going not only in British Columbia, it's getting pushed out across the country. And we're seeing similar codes being developed in the United States. So it's, again, signing up for or having your name, we can give you that information as it's growing. And it starts to be, we'd like to have kudo cards, or when people actually see somebody else practicing really good, like flying through your fire pit or whatever this, that an operator or a park ranger can give you a kudo card or a big button. So
That's great. Those videos, okay to share on Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that if you want to spread them around?
they're absolutely brilliant. They're absolutely. They came out one after another last spring, and I believe we have another push out for them again. Just again, it's just every time you turn around, social media or buying a tent or entering into a private campground or a park, BC park property, or Parks and Rec, as you see those 9 simple items to maybe think about.
On the back of my ski pass, I have the cross-country, I'm a cross-country skier, the cross-country skier responsibility code, right?
Yeah.
Has there been consideration of asking to have that on the back of, say, your BC Parks pass? This is a question from Christina. Or your on the back of your permit that you're going to be doing for your private campgrounds in the BC Campground Association.
That is a super good idea. We're looking to incorporate it in more ways. The Alpine Responsibility Code has been around for a couple decades, so they've had this slow ramp up. We are only in our 3rd year, but yes, hopes and dreams. We do want it to be much more prevalent in the future. So, great ideas.
Well, that
Awesome.
was that's why the skiers responsible, and why it's still here, living decades later. I'm talking. I got into the ski industry in 1979. Skiers responsibility was just that it was just birthing at the end of the 70s, and it's still strong today. When we were setting up to develop this share with you guys, I just went on to see if I could grab some of the most relevant information about the skiers responsibility code. And there was stuff that was 2023, so it's this many years past. It's 43 years, decades. So we got a long way to go and a lot of different things. That's the beauty of it. Is it we're just following the format that's already been successful, other than recreating the wheel. It's just bringing simple things to keep point of mind everywhere you go.
On one of I think one of our first ones there was respect wildlife. And I worked up in Provincial Park in Northern Ontario when I was a young. And back then, that provincial park happens to be in the Chapleau Grand Game Reserve, which has the highest concentration of black bear in North America. Who knew? I did. But the one of the things that we had a problem with is that in that park, on occasion, we would do things like set up a trap for a black bear that was causing a particular problem, right? And so that the trap had to be set up essentially near the campground, and we would try and post signs or tell people about it, but that would always attract curiosity. So what are your, are there any specific thoughts about as being a camper, what you should do when you run across something that you're not used to? Do you have any advice what people should do if they run across something they're just not quite sure what use of that is in the park? Jamie?
Well, speaking of the parks, I operate private operations. So I mean, staff
Sure.
are always for being giving information to the guests that are on. I like to educate. Like at our resort, there was I had an environmental analysis that was done. We identified some red listed species on the property, and it was amazing how many we found. And there was wrens that were on the bluff above us. There's black spotted bats, and one thing that really stood out was I think it was called a Rocky Mountain gray mussel. And because of the mussel program in BC, everybody's really freaked out about mussels, but the mussel that's a problem in BC is about the size of your thumbnail. And these Rocky Mountain gray mussels were a couple of inches across, just a gray mussel. And kids were pulling, and other people were pulling these mussels out of the lake and discarding them because they thought they were mussel. And the mussel that you see the big signs on the highway. And I just started to educate, again, children, and children educate parents. It's an inherent thing that's happening in this world. But it's a good way to
Sherry, do you have any advice for campers who might be in a BC park and they run across something they're not quite sure about?
Sorry, I was on mute there. If they're in a front country campground, our park operators are around to answer questions. But other than that, yeah, that's a really good question. I guess there are people who don't know what a bear trap may look like, and it could be interesting. But usually they're well signed on the outside for us. And they'll say, like, this is a live bear trap. And if there is an area where there is a bear that needs to be trapped, it's also highly likely that we've closed off that area to campers. This campground loop is closed due to a food condition or habituated bear, and we'll only reopen that after it's safe. So specifically in that instance, I don't know how likely it would be for someone to come across it, not knowing what it was. Like, it is signed, it's probably closed. So, but
And we
if there's
want people to respect those signs
yes,
too. If it's
100%.
closed, it's
Yes,
closed for a reason, right?
respect stuff and signs. If it's a closure, it's always for human safety, because that is number one priority for sure.
Marvelous. We're wrapping things up. There was a quick question I wanted to ask Sandra on the plan ahead and be prepared side. So plan ahead and be prepared sounds an awful lot like our 3Ts. How are these sort of programs coming together along those lines? And we're going to play a 3T video just in a little bit, and then we'll give away a whole bunch of prizes. Sandra.
Thanks, Scott. I'm pleased to be a part of the Alliance. I'm part of that list. Me, BC AdventureSmart. It's not just me. And it's great to sit around the table with Sherry and Jamie and the rest of everyone. And we get to add our expertise to the Campers Code. That's what I love about this. It's a group of us in the industry. We're stakeholders. We're outdoor enthusiasts as well. And we're each passionate about our own individual sector. And that allows us to insert that into the Campers Code. So the plan ahead and be prepared really references and reflects and links to BC AdventureSmart messaging. A lot of the commonalities are there, and it connects to those resources, right? No matter if it's RV and camping, no matter if it's wild safe, we all have all come together to say, we're here to help you. So here's that one-stop shop, no different than the Alpine Responsibility Code. It's a one-stop shop to get information for boarders or skiers. And this is a one-stop shop for those campers. If you're a newcomer, if you're just getting back into camping, this is a great way to go. You know, I've heard a lot of great things tonight from Sherry and Jamie, and it really makes me think maybe there's a way we bring the Campers Code as part of our curriculum. With AdventureSmart, it fits in so nicely, but there's lots rolling through my brain on a good day, and today's a good day. So some ideas are flowing. Maybe I'll talk to Sherry and Jamie shortly.
We also have a bit of meshing, as Paul in the chat brings up, with Leave No Trace. And we had Leave No Trace Canada come by and talk to that. A lot of the elements that we've talked about, the don't litter, the essentially respect wildlife, a number of those 9 items actually are in the Leave No Trace guidelines as well. You should only be taking pictures. You shouldn't be making your own path. You should be following trails and stuff like that. So there's a lot of opportunity to like start bringing these programs together and try and get a cohesive messaging out. I think it's quite exciting what we might be able to do over the next few years. I am going to bring up a video now about our 3 T's. These 3 T's are the trifecta of outdoor safety. And at the end of that video, it's about 4 minutes, we're going to give away a whole bunch of other prizes. So stick around, folks. Here we go.
So, you want to be adventure smart. Good.
But what is being adventure smart?
Being adventure smart is really all about taking responsibility for your own safety and following the 3 T's.
Got it. What are the 3 T's?
What are the 3 T's? The 3 T's are the trifecta of outdoor safety: trip planning, training, and taking the essentials. The 3 T's can vary from person to person, activity to activity, and season to season. But here are some important ways to ensure you are prepared and safe on your next adventure. Trip planning. We could go on forever about this one. Trip planning is an essential step and one of the easiest ways we can stay safe on our adventures. This is something that should be done every time we head into the outdoors, whether for a few hours or multiple days. Trip planning can be broken down into 4 simple steps. Planning your travel route and navigation is about picking a trail or route based on its difficulty that's relative to your experience, ability, and the amount of time you have. Know your limits. Not all trails are created equal, so know the terrain and conditions. A 10-kilometer hike scrambling straight up a steep mountain is a lot different than a 10-kilometer stroll around a lake. Before you go anywhere, check the weather and keep checking it as things can change fast. This includes wind, precipitation, temperature, and sunset times. Finally, make sure you leave a comprehensive trip plan with a trusted contact. Keep in mind, this may not be your mom or dad or best buddy. Choose someone you can count on if you were to get into trouble. A comprehensive trip plan might be as simple as sending your trusted contact a text or email with key information about your activity, or using the AdventureSmart app, which allows you to enter a detailed trip plan. Training doesn't mean being an elite athlete or being queen of the mountain on Strava. Training is a continuous process of outdoor recreation. It's about developing the necessary skills and abilities to be safe. This might include working your way up to that big summit hike, taking a few courses to expand your wilderness and backcountry knowledge, navigation and route finding courses, or even learning more advanced skills like rescue and emergency training. You have planned and trained. Now make sure you take the essentials. Taking the essentials means packing everything you potentially need to stay warm, safe, and dry if an emergency unexpectedly arises. What if you rolled your ankle or got hurt? What if you got lost and had to spend the night outdoors? Take the time and be prepared to look after yourself. So that's it. Those are the 3 T's.
That's it.
But no matter how hard you train, how well you trip plan, and how much essential gear you bring, you may still find yourself in an emergency. And that's okay. The wilderness can be unpredictable. If you find yourself in an emergency, it's important to stop, think, observe, and plan. Use that essential gear you brought to stay warm, dry, and safe, and contact 911 on your emergency communication device. Remember, search and rescue in BC is free for everyone. Remember, safety is an outcome of good trip planning, training, and taking the essentials. It's your responsibility. So let's all do our part and be adventure smart.
We're back. So we've got a whole bunch of questions to ask. And what I'm going to get you guys to do is go into the chat section where I've been putting all my little tips and the links that I've been putting in. And in that chat section, we're going to get you to reply to the questions. Now, what's going to happen is Sandra's going to ask a question, and then a whole bunch of people are going to reply. And I'm going to pick the top one or top three, depending on which question it is. And we'll essentially get back in touch with you on the email that you registered with. It's just that simple. So shall we start? Sandra.
Let's go. One remark, get ready, let's go. The first one will be the Reco reflector. It's an awesome support that we get from Reco. We've had it for a couple of seasons now. So if anyone is here from Reco, thank you. The question for this one is, are you ready? You have to type quickly. Scott's watching. One prize only for this one. How much does search and rescue cost in British Columbia?
Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of people. It's absolutely correct. The answer is search and rescue is free. And how do people get in touch with us if they need search and rescue, Sandra?
The number's 911. Always, no matter what. There's no special search and rescue number. If I'm lost and I need Scott's help, I can't phone his direct phone number to get search and rescue to help me. We all have to go through the system, and that's through 911. It goes to your local police or municipality, RCMP, and they task out the local search and rescue group. Remember, there's 78 groups, so there's one close to you. No problem with that. It's free of
if
charge.
You don't, and if your cell phone doesn't work, hopefully you'll have your primary communication method like a InReach Spot or some other device which can actually bounce it off a satellite.
Exactly. Important pieces. Super. So we'll get in touch with you for that winner. The second prize will be a Bright Source light. They have excellent products. They are very generous with search and rescue as well, and support our webinars here. This question is relation to, we had a little conversation around it and we found the answer. So hopefully you listened, and now I know as well. What's the charge if you have caused a fire? What are you going to get charged?
BC Wildfire Service fine.
Exactly. The number came up. Oh, look at the number showing up here. Whoa, 12,500. Nancy, you went high. Nice. Maybe it should be 12,000. I kind of like that number.
Well, we do have the right answer, which I believe is 1145.
Yes.
So that's great. And we'll get in touch with the person who answered that one first.
Maybe if it was 12,000 or 13,000, people might be a little bit more cautious. You know, it makes people think, doesn't it? That's a whole other conversation.
I want to point out though, Sherry did mention that you could potentially be on the hook for the full cost of putting out that fire. That can be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Easily. Easily. As we move along, our third question is something that you all just heard about, and this will be for the first three people who answer this correctly will receive a My Boat Card Pleasurecraft Operator card. And the question is, what does our STOP acronym actually stand for? This is an important piece because it's what you need to do in an emergency, and it will help search and rescue find you faster. It's really an important piece. So our video just talked about it. And if you were listening to the video, I've tapped another layer of your listening tonight, maybe, to see if you could pick out what that actually stands for.
Well, we've got one person so far. Yes, there you go. And it is interesting. One person did come out and say, stop, think, observe, plan, and then act. And that's an important thing. After you've stopped, thought, observed, and planned, the plan probably needs action, which is absolutely great, and I'm going to accept that as an action. But the stop we're looking for is stop, think, observe, plan. Now that stop, if you're in a safe place. If you have to get out of the safe place, if you have to get to a safe place, excuse me, and you have to get out of danger, and then as soon as you're out of danger, stop, think, observe, plan. Generally, search and rescue wants you to stay where you are, because we will get to you, and what we find is people who try to make things better for themselves tend to get themselves turned around and further lost. And if we're searching for you and you go around like this, I could miss you. So if you stay where you are, we're going to find you. So stop, think, observe, and make your plan.
You're welcome, Nancy. We had some great comments, lots of support tonight, and I'd like to personally thank Sherry again. Always a pleasure. Jamie, it's been a lovely time over the decades. We've had the chance, and so great to reconnect of late. Scott, thanks again for everything this evening. Another one down, checked off the list. We have 8 more to go. And it's easy to remember. They're every Thursday night right up until August 1st. So a week today, 6 p.m., same time, same channel. Everything's the same. The topics just change and the guests continue to come to our stage. Next week is all about human hazard management. This one's going to be really interesting. It's going to be a lot about the mindset, resiliency, empowerment, confidence in the outdoors. How do you make that happen? How does that collide with an emergency and risk management? I'm really excited for next week. It's the skills that are right up here and the thinking and the processes that we go through. So please join us for that. Remember, all of our webinars are recorded. You can find them on the BC Search and Rescue Association YouTube. And on behalf of the 3,400 search and rescue volunteers who are here to help you, again, 24/7, free of charge. Their number's 911. Thank you. We hope to see you back here again, and enjoy the rest of your summer out there adventuring. See you on the trails. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Take care.